Hey.
Hey, good afternoon, Walter. How are you doing?
Hey. Good. How are you?
Fine. Are you ready for this?
I'm ready.
All right. Let's give Michael a minute.
Sure.
Meanwhile, we'll play the intro just to get warmed up.
Okay.
How's that sound?
Sure.
All right. So we'll give Michael a minute. Why don't you? We'll just have some football talk.
Okay. Wait. Let me. Are we live?
Yeah. I don't know how to stop it.
Okay. Let me tweet this out. Michael's asking for a login. He's just let me tell him to click the link.
All right.
I couldn't find the YouTube page. Yeah. So this is week 17. I don't know how many people are going to be. Okay, I see the link. It's on YouTube.
Is week 17 wrong? Should it be week 18?
No, it is week 17.
Okay.
Okay.
Let me resend this link to Michael. It's not YouTube. He doesn't understand that. Welcome to the real world of technology and trying to get little things taken care of. Let's see. This is always fun.
Yeah, it's the first time. Figure it out. Yeah, I know. Yeah, Michael should just be able to click the link and log in. It's gonna be a
well, he's never done this before. So, and I tested with a different link the other day, so it won't take him but a second to get in.
Yeah.
So
how's your Christmas?
Fine. How was yours?
It was good.
I missed you though. I missed Wednesdays.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it was fine. Nothing crazy. We just I went to my parents' house and I watched the Sixers game with my dad, so that was fun.
Wow, that's cool. So you and your dad like to bond and do those kind of neat things.
Yeah, I mean it's not often that we get to do that, because I don't live with my parents anymore. But it was when I used to live there, we used to watch sports all the time together. And I still go to my parents' house on Thursday nights to watch my dad and make some bets. And he plays on DraftKings from time to time.
Okay.
So it's fun.
All right. So I'm learning this system. Is there a way to change the names?
You enter the name when you log in. So I've never had to change the name. So
okay. I'll figure that out. That's just one of the little things. Is he still having problems?
I mean, he didn't message me.
Did you click on the link I sent you?
Yep.
And it worked just fine, right?
Yeah, I clicked and I got in right away.
Okay. So how do we, just while we're setting this up, how do we see the streams of people saying things about us?
It'll show up in the comments. It should be on the right side. It should say comments, and then
okay.
So.
Oh, got it.
Yeah, and then if someone comments, you click on it, You can click on it, and then it'll show up on the feed. Everyone can see it.
Okay. All right.
Um,
But we're going to get started here in a minute because I know you've got a short day. And so tell me about today. Today is college football.
Yeah, it's the college football playoff today. So it's LSU versus Oklahoma, and then Ohio State versus Clemson. I actually don't know if that's the right order of the games, but yeah, the two games are today, and the winner goes to the championship the following week. So yeah, college football didn't always used to have a playoff. It used to be they used to just vote in the championship, I should say, and that was kind of a dumb way to do it. In fact, I think it's still bad because they only have 4 teams in the playoff, which seems kind of ridiculous. So I think they're trending toward having 8 teams, or maybe even 16 in the future, which would be great. But at least 8 would be nice. But yeah, I mean, we usually get good traffic on those the college football playoff games because a lot of the players there will be drafted highly. So people are going to be looking at them. They're going to be searching where they're going to be drafted, and our traffic usually spikes during those games. Like today, the first overall pick in the draft is going to be Joe Burrow, the LSU quarterback. He's playing today. The second overall pick is going to be Chase Young, Ohio State defensive end. He's going to be playing today. Probably the third overall pick might be Jeff Okudah, the cornerback from Ohio State. He's going to be playing today. So there are so many players who are going to be in the top 10 playing today. So it's going to be a lot of interest from draft fans and stuff like that. So it'll be fun. Plus the games are fun. So yeah, it's going to be great.
Sure.
I love
games
today.
are fun. You know, Clemson is close to home for me. So, you know, that'll be interesting. And I can't say that I've planned to watch college football all day today. I am doing good and loving the NFL games and having a good time with them. I've always been a big fan of football sports, though. We come from, you know, North Carolina. We didn't have professional leagues of any kind for many years, right? Like we were the last to enter or close to it. So, Michael, woo!
You have to click.
There
we go.
I couldn't get in because of Skype. I finally realized it couldn't access both at the same time.
Oh.
I'm sorry.
That's all right. So here we go, guys.
Yeah.
We played the intro. We don't have to do that again, but you can if you want to, just to get warmed up.
No, we're good. We can start right away.
So Walter, you want to get started?
Yeah, welcome to the WalterFootball.com Fantasy Football Show and DFS Strategy for Week 17. Joined once again by Michael Hofer. Michael, Merry Christmas, and how did you do in Week 16?
Well, I had 3 teams in the finals. I won in 2 leagues, and the one that really mattered, I lost because my opponent picked up the Colts defense special teams after I dropped them, and they just wouldn't tackle Naeem Hines on 2 punt returns. So there was no way to beat 73.5 points. So he deserved to win. Matt Hawkins, bravo to him.
Yeah, congratulations to him. The Panthers couldn't tackle on special teams at all. That was the one pick I lost in the Super Contest, unfortunately. They allowed not only the 2 touchdowns on punt returns, but a third one, basically, they got into the red zone. I know that didn't factor into fantasy at all, but it really did factor into the game because Indianapolis scored 21 points on special teams. So Carolina never had a chance. Also joined by Kim Calhoun. Kim, how are you? And Merry Christmas.
Oh, Merry Christmas. And I got the wrong week up here, week 16. I'm sorry about that, guys. And for some reason, my name is WalterFootball.com. So the fun of diving into new technology, we've got a lot of airstream blowing through. Can you figure out what's going on there?
It shouldn't be me. I can mute myself. You still hear it?
All right. I can hear it with you.
What are you hearing?
Loud airstream.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I'm going to mute Mike.
Yeah, testing 1, 2, 3.
It's Mike.
Yeah.
Mike, what kind of air do you have? Kind of a fan blowing or something?
Okay. Hold on a second. Oh my God.
But now it sounds better. Oh, no, okay, there it is.
Welcome to live TV, folks.
Yeah, right.
Where anything can and will happen. This is what I like about reality, because you know what? People don't see all the stuff that goes on behind the scenes on a real TV show. And we edit out so much just to make your experience more of what we call reality. But even reality TV is edited considerably, just to, I guess, make it easier on the viewers. But now the viewers can actually see some of the things that we go through. But anyway, guys, it's great to be with you again. I missed y'all on Wednesday. I'm used to Wednesdays, and let's. Oh, Mike, we're still loud noise.
Yeah.
I don't know where it's coming from. I don't know what to do.
All right, you got.
Let me try going.
What I think you can do is you can mute yourself until you talk. Yeah, that seems to work. Me personally, week 16, I was in the championship of one of my leagues that I've been in since 2003, and I managed to win. So that was nice. We actually talked about what I was going to do last week for my quarterback, because I started Eli Manning twice in the playoffs because of injuries to quarterbacks. And then Manning was obviously not going to play week 16. So I was initially going to go with Drew Lock, but then I went with Daniel Jones, and Daniel Jones actually ended up outscoring Lamar Jackson, which was just crazy. But yeah, I mean, this is week 17. A lot of you are not playing in your normal leagues this week. I'm not. There's one league that's still alive. It's only for points. Like our champion has already been decided, but they decided to. My friend Mark, who runs the league, he decided to keep week 17 alive for points. So whoever gets the most points for the season wins some money. And I mean, so I kind of like that. I think that makes a lot of sense. But yeah. I assume if most of you are not playing in week 17 in your normal leagues, and if you are, I think maybe you should talk to your commissioner and get a rule change going, because there are so many teams that are not going to play their starters this week because these games don't mean anything to them. However, there is DFS to talk about, and the DraftKings has $1 million on the line once again, so I thought we could at least delve into that. Well, let me ask you first, Michael. Are you in any live leagues that we need to discuss? Michael. I don't know if he's there. Yeah, he's
mic is disconnected.
Okay. All right. I'll talk for a little bit. So I wanted to let me. I don't know if I can share my screen right now. I wanted to post the winning lineup for DraftKings last week. I thought it was very interesting. I don't know if you can. It should say Walter Football on the screen. Okay,
got it.
There we go.
Welcome to the new live stream, folks.
Yeah. All right. The winning lineup I thought was very interesting. So first of all, Michael talked about the Colts defense. The Colts defense scored 30 points, which is it's just crazy. Usually a defense in DFS scores like 8 points, 9 points, 10 points. Indianapolis got 30 points. So I think it was the top 17 finishers in last week's contest, which was for $500,000 instead of $1 million, but it was half the entry price. The top 17 players all had Indianapolis defense. So that really, I always talk about how frustrating it is for defense in DFS because it's so variant that it's like football already is a high variance sport with the touchdowns and the fumbles and whatnot. But to add an extra layer of variance onto it, it's just very frustrating. So I wish DFS would go to a second flex or maybe even a second quarterback just to deal with that. I wish defense didn't exist on DraftKings and other DFS platforms. But I thought this lineup was very interesting because so you look at the quarterback, Andy Dalton is someone most people wouldn't have. Andy Dalton is not going to be a starting quarterback next year in all likelihood. But he had a monster game because the game went to overtime. He had a great comeback. And what's crazy is that they paired him with Tyler Boyd and John Ross, two of his receivers. And then they ran it back with the other side with Albert Wilson and Mike Gesicki. So they used 5 players from the same game. I've talked about how I like to pair my quarterback with 2 players from his team and then 1 other player from the other side. So I'm thinking that my new strategy might just be just stack games with lesser owned quarterbacks like Andy Dalton, and have 2 of his teammates and then run it back with 2 players. So have 5-man stacks like this. So my strategy this week is going to revolve around that. So that is my thinking this week. And Michael, you're back, right?
Yes, Michael's back. Hi, Michael.
Hey. Yeah, I'm in 5 leagues every year, and one of them does go to week 17. And it's a 20-team league, and I really screwed up that draft. I got caught up in the hype. I took Odell Beckham first, Devonta Freeman second, and through the grace of God and some smart pickups, I managed to make the finals. So I'm in the finals, and I'm projected to win quite easily.
Oh, nice. Well, yeah, hopefully that comes to fruition. Yeah, so I don't know if you had any thoughts to stacking games like this, Michael, like on DraftKings. I know you're not like an avid DraftKings player, but I think this makes a lot of sense to put 2 players from the same team with the quarterback and then run it back with 2 other players, especially if it goes to overtime like the Cincinnati-Miami game did. You can get a lot of points with it, and so I was thinking about certain games I could do this with this week, and I think one that came to mind was Redskins Cowboys. The Cowboys defense is not very good, and with Terry McLaurin out for the Redskins, I think it's a consolidated target share for Case Keenum. And on the other side, you have Ezekiel Elliott, Michael Gallup, Amari Cooper, like talented players. I know that Dak Prescott's hurt, but I think that could be a high scoring affair. And also I was thinking about that with the Giants Eagles game. Is there any like high scoring shootout game this week that you can think of, Michael?
Totally agree with the Giants Eagles.
Totally
agree. That's going to be a fantastic game.
Yeah, I think that'll be a good one. And I actually, if I want to warn Eagle fans, I think that that the Giants could take that one. I think it'll be close. Giants Eagles games are always close. They're always decided by 3, 4, 5 points, 6 points. It's always tight with them. And Zach Ertz is out for the Eagles, so that's another reason I like Carson Wentz this week, is because he has a consolidated target share. Because now you can pair Wentz with 2 of Dallas Goedert, Miles Sanders, and Greg Ward, and I think that's going to be a good stack. And then you could run it back very easily with the Giants. Obviously they have Saquon Barkley, who's looking very healthy for the first time since he returned from injury. But then the Giants have 3 receivers that you could pair with. So, Michael, do you have any Giant receiver you prefer this week? You're muted, Michael.
I'll keep muting and unmuting. Sorry about that, guys.
Maybe Golden Tate. I'm kind of disappointed at the way Slayton's been doing.
Yeah, Slayton was injured last week. He missed most of the game with an injury, so I think he might. I think he might bounce back this week. I don't know how healthy he's going to be, but he played at the end of last week, so I think that's a good sign that he might bounce back. And I think given that he disappointed a lot of people, it might lend well to playing in the DFS. I kind of like that, like players who have disappointed people. I know that Awesemo, who's the number 1 DFS player in the world, I heard him say recently that he tends to play players who have lost people a lot of money in recent weeks, and he's number 1 for a reason. And I think that's a good strategy. It's a nice contrarian strategy.
Go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay. All right. So that's kind of a wrap up. For do we exit up? Okay. It's kind of a wrap up for the DFS portion. We're going to go into the rankings later. But Michael, I know you wanted to talk about some lessons for next year's drafting. And we talked about it on Facebook earlier in the week, and I think that we came up with some interesting takes. So I don't know if you wanted to lead off with them.
Go for it, Mike.
That's a great idea, Walter. Yeah, the one league that I really don't care that much about of my three keeper leagues, I won that one easily this year, and I've always had a stacked lineup. But my quarterback has been Aaron Rodgers, and he's been killing me for years. So I've come to the conclusion it's not a good idea to have guys from your favorite team. You get emotional about them. The one league that I lost in, I had Rodgers, Devontae Adams, Aaron Jones, and Mason Crosby. But Rodgers has been killing me for years. Now, the guy I played in the finals, for some reason, dropped Lamar Jackson at his bye week. So I swooped him up, and that carried me home. I've also got Saquon Barkley and Christian McCaffrey, Julio Jones, stuff like that. But I had to pick 9 keepers for next year, and I was trying to decide whether keeping 2 tight ends between Hunter Henry and oh my God, the Ravens tight end Andrews, because neither one of them is like elite, but there's going to be some rookies that'll be good next year, like Hawkinson and Fant. So I've decided I'm going to keep Aaron Rodgers and Lamar Jackson, because there was also a year where I was in a bunch of leagues, and I actually took RG3 over Andrew Luck one year, and I feel really dumb about that. So what could happen next year is maybe they'll figure out Lamar, or maybe he'll get hurt. So I guess I need that protection. So I was very disappointed in. I've been disappointed in Rodgers, so that was a mistake. I bought the hype on Odell Beckham when I could have drafted Michael Thomas or Tyreek Hill, and then my next pick was Devontae Freeman. But I was lucky that Jameis Winston carried me home. I got Allen Robinson. I picked up A.J. Brown and Brashard Perryman. So I'm actually in good shape, and I've been playing Mostert and Miles Sanders at the running backs. So that turned out okay. So I don't know if Aaron Rodgers is keepable. That's one thing I learned. Stay away from your favorite team. And the one league that I didn't make it to the playoffs of the 5 that I play in every year, I kind of, Yahoo kind of sabotaged me, because right before you draft, they put Eddie Barron's up on your screen, and he gives you a recommendation. And he recommended taking a receiver, so I took Beckham. That was dumb. And then I was at the end of a snake. Well, you know, their good players are gone, so why don't you go with a tight end? So I went with Travis Kelce. And Travis Kelce didn't hurt me, but all the other good players were gone after that. So I am convinced now taking a tight end first is not a good strategy. I also did that one year with Gronk. So I don't think you can really take a tight end in the first round.
No, I don't think you can either. The upside's just not there, and there's not that much of a difference between the top tight ends and the middle of the pack. I think on a weekly basis. Overall, yes. Obviously you'd want Kelce and those type of players over the middle of the field for a year long, for like a whole year. But I think what you can do for tight ends is play matchups very effectively. Like this year, we saw any tight end going against Arizona or Seattle or Tampa Bay, they've kind of just gone off. And so you can kind of play musical chairs with your tight ends and use your first round pick on like a premium receiver or a running back. So I think that's a better strategy. I would not draft Travis Kelce in the first round. No, I mean, if he got to me at the end of the second round next year, I think I would consider him. But in the first round, no way. And I would say the same thing for quarterbacks. I would definitely not draft a quarterback in the first round. Even Lamar Jackson, I think what you said is correct. Lamar Jackson could be due for some regression next year. Not because he's going to be worse as a passer or anything. I actually like that he's working very hard. That's kind of his motto, which is great to see. The problem is that he takes a lot of hits, and he could get injured. He could be more reluctant to run as a result. And yeah, I mean, teams will figure him out a little bit. They'll throw stuff at him that he hasn't seen once they've played against him multiple times. So I think that's could be a pitfall for him next year. So yeah, I wouldn't spend a first round pick on Lamar Jackson next year. But same thing with Travis Kelce. If he were there in the second round, at the end of the second round, I think I would try to pick him. But that's not going to happen because people tend to take quarterbacks very early, and I think that's always a big mistake.
Oh, okay. That's interesting to learn. Something I've learned listening to you guys is to take into consideration the work ethic of the players that you pick. It's not always necessarily, like Michael said, your favorite players that can really let you down in fantasy football, but take into consideration their work ethic, their lifestyles, their injury reports, what's going on and building up. And I know you're talking about the draft picks probably for the whole year, but I think these are all very important elements that you taught me, kind of like when you're going out to draft for the real football teams. That's what you're doing. And you have to look deep and do a little bit of a background check on these guys. And because their home styles, their lifestyles will truly impact their game.
Yeah, I think it's important to look at reports during the off season to see if a player is working very hard. I think that could really tell you if they're going to improve the following year. Like, for example, one thing I would like to say, like an example about this, is Jordan Reed, the tight end for the Redskins. This guy has been hurt almost every year, but I remember one off season where there were reports that said Reed changed his workout ethics and changed his diet, and that really made me consider Reed as an option. And he had his best year. He missed a couple games, but for the most part, he played well. That was his best year. So I think during the summer, the early summer months, when you're not really focused on fantasy, just reading up on stuff every day, or every week even, to see if you hear any positive reports about players is very important. And that's actually something we highlight on my website. During the off season, every day we'll have fantasy stock reports. So if I hear something about a player working very hard, or maybe not working hard, then we'll post it on the site, and I adjust my rankings accordingly. So that's definitely, that's absolutely important, Kim. You're right. But Michael, the other point you were saying about players from your fantasy from your favorite teams, yeah, I totally agree with that. You shouldn't be doing that. It kind of helps me sort of because I don't have a favorite team, so I've never run into that issue. But you're right. I mean, I think generally fans will overvalue players from their favorite team because they want to root for them in two aspects. And I live right outside of Philly, so there are a lot of Eagles fans in all of my leagues, in all my local leagues, I should say. And all the Eagles always go early, and I'm always like shaking my head. It's like, are you like, why are you playing fantasy with this mindset? You shouldn't be doing this. And conversely, if you're in an area, like here, people might be reluctant to take Cowboys and Giants players because they hate them. So you can get good values on those guys. Michael, I know you're in Tampa. I don't know if I guess Tampa has the Saints and the Falcons and Panthers as rivalries. I don't know if people are going to be taking Christian McCaffrey and Michael Thomas later or anything, but maybe look at DJ Moore next year. Maybe he's underdrafted. That's kind of an idea.
Yeah, indeed. And also, I'd like to point out that my championship game with Matt Hawkins, that was decided by transactions I made with him during the season. Before the season started, I normally don't take players with bad character, but he offered me Antonio Brown for Tyler Lockett, and I've had Antonio Brown on my roster all year. That's kind of killed me. Then I was a little low on running backs, so I made a trade with him for Kenyon Drake right when it was rumored that he was going to be traded, the trade deadline. And we made the transaction. We were in the veto period. And in our league, we can actually cancel it before the thing goes through. And when he went to Arizona, I thought, oh, man, I don't want any part of that. So I canceled the trade, and Kenya Drake went off immediately after only a couple of hours with the team. And he got 50-some points on championship day. So that was another one that killed me. He wanted to trade the guy away, and I canceled it. So he was the beneficiary of that. And the other one was I cut the Colts defense right after they played so lousy against the Buccaneers, and then they played terrible again against the Saints. He grabbed them right away and had the guts to start them, and you know what happened against the Panthers. So bravo to Matt. He deserved to win.
Yeah, I always want to commend him for starting the Colts because they were going against a rookie quarterback, Will Grier, and it seemed like a great matchup. But it's misleading because the Colts didn't really stop Will Grier. It was the punt return touchdowns, which is just amazing. So yeah, that's kind of it's weird how defenses work. That was what I was saying earlier. It's such a high variant position in a very variant, like high variant sport. So it's pretty frustrating that defenses are so they could sway a matchup so easily like that. I wish. I know touchdowns are technically worth 6 points in real football. I just don't know why they're worth 6 points in fantasy. I wish defensive touchdowns were worth like 4 points or something. That would make it less variant. I think that would be better overall. Or ditch defenses entirely. I think that's another strategy that they can use or anyone can use, I guess. So one lesson I learned from my year long is that I don't know if I'm going to draft a quarterback next year at all. I'm joking, obviously. Like I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to identify a quarterback who's not going to be drafted or drafted highly but someone who's going to have a terrific week 1 matchup. And then I'm just going to target them in the 12th or 13th or maybe the 14th round. That's what I'm going to do because this year I drafted Cam Newton in one of my leagues, and he just got injured right away. He played just 2 games, and that was it. And then I've been circling through quarterbacks every single week, and I think that made me pay attention more in my league. Like I was very invested in it because it's kind of like a kind of like a strategy to figure out which quarterback would be the best. And, like I said, I went with Eli Manning twice and then Daniel Jones. So it was a lot of fun. That was the most fun I've had. I've had better teams in that league that have won and not have won. And this team, I just barely got into the playoffs, and I won the championship because of the quarterback shuffling. And like I said, that was a lot of fun for me. So I think that's what I'm going to do next year, unless a quarterback falls to me and is great value, but I don't anticipate that happening. People just take quarterbacks early for some reason. Right, Michael, is that the experience you've had in your leagues?
Oh, yes, indeed. And I totally agree with you. I also came up with another strategy that I haven't been bold enough to try yet. But in redraft leagues, because I usually am pretty confident that I'm going to make it into the playoffs no matter what. So I stack my roster for weeks 14, 15, and 16. But the thing I've been considering is drafting all guys with the same bye week and just tanking that bye week, and you don't have any bye week problems anymore. So you're going to lose 1 week, but you might win the rest. I don't know. What do you think of that? Is that crazy or what?
I think the one issue there is that some of the guys you might draft are going to get injured, and then you have to replace them, and then suddenly you're going to have guys on bye weeks you're going to have to worry about. So I definitely like the sentiment there. If it works out that way, and you tank for 1 week, and then you have everyone available for the other weeks, I think that's a good thing if you can make it turn out to be that way. But I think you might get in trouble that way because of injuries. Players get injured all the time. You never know, and plus, it's I don't know. It's very risky. Like when I draft, I don't even look at buys. I have no idea what my bye weeks are, even with the quarterbacks. 1 year in a league, I won a championship in. This is a while ago, as you'll be able to tell by the quarterbacks. I drafted Jay Cutler and Matt Schaub back when they both were like pretty good fantasy quarterbacks. Both had the same bye week, and when I did that, they're like, some guy was like, "Well, both your quarterbacks are week 8 buys," and I'm like, I don't care. I really don't care. I'm just drafting the best players, and I really don't care about buys. I'll figure it out when week 8 comes along. And week 8, I picked up a decent guy, and he did okay, and I ended up winning that week, so it didn't matter.
Yeah, I actually love Cutler. I love the gunslingers. I hung on to him way too long. I don't remember when Matt Schaub was ever good.
Matt Schaub was pretty decent for a while when he had Andre Johnson and Kevin Walter.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
In the early part of this decade, he's a pretty decent fantasy quarterback. Not great or anything, but he's okay. Those are the lessons learned, I think. I don't know if you had any others, but yeah, as always, maybe some people listening don't know this lesson because I'm in leagues where people commit these errors all the time. Don't draft defenses or kickers unless you're in a league that it's pay for transaction. Some people will draft kickers and defenses at the end of the drafts, which I think is okay. But personally, I don't even draft them at all because what happens is unless your draft is like a couple days before the season starts, if your draft is early enough, what I would recommend is drafting high upside players, and then just keeping them on your roster as long as you can, because you never know who's going to make the final cuts. Some guys you like might get cut, they might get injured, and then you're going to be happy if let's just say the second running back you draft in the third round, he gets injured. You're going to be happy that you drafted this high upside running back in the late rounds, and you can keep him now, and you can cut the guy, the second running back who's out for the year. So that's something I highly recommend. Unless your league requires it, don't draft kickers and defenses at all. So that's something I like to do.
Interesting.
Yeah. I like that as well. And also it's something that ties into this. During the year, something I like to do is just on waivers when I want to pick up someone, instead of, let's just say, for example, I want to pick up this hot running back who's on waivers and he's going to be the top priority. I'll pick him up, but instead of dropping another running back or a receiver or whatever, I'll just drop my kicker, or I'll just drop my defense, unless I really want to keep that defense, because kickers are so replaceable. They're all, you never know what's going to happen to these guys. We talked about earlier in the year, Michael, is like where we talked about Matt Gay and Joey Sly, how they were like the hottest kickers, and they both struggled at the end of the year. So it's like, who really cares who your kicker is? So I like to just, when I make my waivers, my top priority is to pick up the best player and drop the kicker. So that's definitely something during the season that I would recommend as well.
Yeah, I think the only week I won with a kicker was the week that Matt Prater went off.
Yeah, that Detroit game, I believe, the Detroit Green Bay game on Monday night, I believe. I think that was the Matt Prater game. That was, by the way, that was the only showdown slate on DraftKings where a kicker was the winning captain. It was only once the whole year. So I guess you probably don't want to play a kicker as your captain in showdown. Usually the winning running back, winning receiver, or losing receiver is usually the winning captain. The exception is if the two exceptions. One, if you have a scrambling quarterback who's going to run for touchdowns, you want to consider him as captain. Two is if you have like this mega tight end who's very talented, George Kittle, Zach Ertz, someone like that, because they're really not really tight ends; they're really receivers at that point. So they count as the team's top receivers. So. So unless Michael, unless you wanted to talk about anything else, we can get into the rankings for week 17.
I think we covered it. Good job.
Just one thing. Did we cover some injuries for last week?
Well, that's good, Ken. Thanks for the heads up about that. It's not so much injuries this week, but as teams that won't play their starters. So if you're playing DraftKings this week, or if you have a week 17 league, these are teams that you won't want to play at all. Minnesota Vikings, they have nothing to play for because they're cemented as the number 6 seed. The actual spread on this game is Chicago by 3, which kind of tells you that Minnesota starters won't play. It could be kind of like the Peyton Manning thing, where Peyton Manning, back in the day when the Colts had nothing to play for because they had a great record, Peyton Manning would come in, he would play one drive, and then he would leave. So even if it's announced that Kirk Cousins and Adam Thielen are going to play, or Stephon Diggs are going to play, don't use these guys. Don't use any of these guys on these teams I'm going to mention. Second team is the Buffalo Bills.
Can I ask a question about that? Is that generally just to kind of not overplay your best players and save them for next year? Is that why they do that?
No, save them for the playoffs the following week. Because,
sorry.
Yeah, these teams I'm talking about are locked into the playoff seeds, and they can't move up or down. So they have no reason to play their players. So they're going to give these guys a week off. The one exception last year was Jason Garrett, Dallas Cowboys. Garrett decided to play all of his players for some reason in a meaningless game, and they needed to come back to win. They won the game, but it came at a price. They lost Cole Beasley, one of their best receivers. He got injured, and that ended up ruining their playoff chances. So. And Jason Garrett's one of the worst head coaches in the NFL, and it's not a surprise that he made a mistake like that. So he doesn't really understand that, but someone like Mike Zimmer, the head coach of the Vikings, he's one of the sharper coaches in the NFL, so he's not going to make a blunder like that. So I would not count on Kirk Cousins or any of the other starters playing more than a series. Maybe trots him out for a series. Maybe he doesn't even do that. So I would not use anyone on Minnesota this week. Maybe the backups like Mike Boone, a running back who's going to start for them because he's the backup. I think he's an interesting option, but the starters, you don't want to use them.
Got it.
Second team, Buffalo Bills, they're locked into the number 5 seed. So they have nothing to play for. So Josh Allen, John Brown, Devin Singletary, Cole Beasley, they're all off the table. You can't use them. Number 3 this week is the Houston Texans. On Monday, Bill O'Brien, the head coach of the Texans, he said that all the starters were going to play and they're going to try to win the game. Then on Thursday, Deshaun Watson told the media he wasn't sure if he was going to play, and they listed pretty much all their starters as questionable. They've listed Will Fuller, the second receiver, out already. So I think Bill O'Brien was kind of. I don't think he was being serious about that quote. I never took it seriously. I think I took it as Bill O'Brien just messing around with the Titans, just kind of playing mind games with them. I would be shocked if Deshaun Watson played more than a series, if that. So Houston is the number 3 team that you don't. So Deshaun Watson, DeAndre Hopkins, Carlos Hyde, Duke Johnson, Will Fuller. He was out already anyway. You don't want to play with those guys at all. So the number 4 team is Baltimore Ravens. They've already announced that they're not going to play. Robert Griffin will start. Mark Andrews is out. Mark Ingram's out. Marquise Brown probably won't play. So Baltimore is the number 4 team you don't want to play this week. So that's it's 4 out of 32 teams, an eighth of the league. So that's what I was saying before about week 17. I don't think leagues should have week 17 as their championship. And we kind of figured this out when I first started playing fantasy football in 1994. I was in middle school. It was a lot of fun. But the frustrating part was, I would always like draft John Elway or something like that, and they would never play in week 17. And it was always frustrating. And then 2 years later, when we were 14, we came up with a rule that said our championship is not going to be week 17 anymore. It's going to be week 16. And that suddenly opened up everyone to be drafted, and it was a lot better. So we figured this out as kids in 1996. So it just boggles my mind that leagues still have championships in week 17. I just don't understand it.
Yeah, no, it makes sense to analyze it that way too. That why would they be playing their best players just before the playoffs? And like you said, that all the factors that play into it. No, it's brilliant that middle schoolers came out with the change. Congrats.
Thanks. Yeah, that was a fun time. There was no internet really, or there was internet, but no one used it. So we submitted lineups by I had to call my friend Joel, who's the commissioner of the league, and I told him my lineup every week. And he would write it down. And then the following Monday, we didn't even know who won. Someone would bring a newspaper into school, and during lunch, he would tally up the totals. And that's how we found out who won for the week. So it was a different time for sure. Now it's a lot easier. And we didn't even think that DFS was a possibility. So it's kind of crazy how things change so quickly.
It is, isn't it? It's insane.
Well, the big news this week, somebody is bringing back their best player. And the question is whether or not you should use him or if you should go with Travis Homer. Marshawn Lynch is back. He claims he's been working out. What's your opinion on Marshawn Lynch versus Travis Homer with the Seahawks?
Because on defense, Marshawn Lynch is not going to be in the main slate. He's in the Sunday night showdown slate, so you don't really have to worry about that for the main slate. But I will be playing showdown, so I have been thinking about it. I haven't seen his pricing yet. I could probably look that up. I don't think the contest is even open at this point. So I don't know. I'm going to look as I talk. With Marshawn Lynch, he had a decent year last year with the Raiders, and the Raiders had so I think if he's in shape, then I think he can do somewhat well. And I don't think the Seahawks would have signed him if he was in bad shape. So I think Lynch is not going to get all the carries. I think I think they want him to maybe get 15 carries or so. Maybe at the goal line, he'll score a touchdown. So I don't think he's a bad play. For sure. I don't know. I wouldn't use Travis Homer either. First of all, he may not see the ball all that much, and second of all, Travis Homer is not a good player at all. So he would be higher on the depth chart if he were a good player. He was fourth on the depth chart. So I don't like him one bit. Looking at the pricing, actually, Marshawn Lynch is only 4,200 compared to Travis Homer, who's 7,400. So I think a lot of people are going to play Marshawn Lynch at that very cheap price of 4,200. So it kind of makes me want to fade him and not use him at all this week. So that's my take. Well, Michael, what's your take on it? Because I'm kind of I feel like I'm just talking in circles here.
I think he's going to bring some spirit to the team. I think he's one of the leaders in the locker room. I think the players are excited about it, and I actually think he's going to do okay and might actually spur the Seahawks into winning a vital game. But, he's been laid off for a while. But, he's also not hurt. Most guys are beat up by week 17. So I think it's going to be a fascinating game.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I think I would play Russell Wilson as captain because he's the scrambling quarterback I talked about before, and I do think Seattle will win the game. I like that. It's one of my top picks of the week, by the way, on the site. I was considering them for my pick of the month, actually.
Go Pack, go! That's great for the Packers.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think with Jimmy Garoppolo not playing well, if you look at the 49ers have done the past 2 weeks. Everyone's talking about Seattle collapsing, because of these injuries. The past 2 weeks, the 49ers have played home games against Atlanta. They lost to Atlanta outright. And then last week, they needed a final drive to beat a Rams team that was just blown out by Dallas. So I don't know why the 49ers are suddenly getting so much attention as 3.5-point road favorites. I think that's a huge mistake. So I don't. I agree with you. I think Seattle might win the game, and Marshawn Lynch could certainly energize them. Absolutely. All right, let's get. I don't know if you wanted to get into the rankings for this week.
Yeah, let's
do that. Let's knock it out because I know we've got college ball today.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. My number one quarterback is Patrick Mahomes. So Mahomes will play because the Chiefs are fighting for a 2 seed. The one issue here, and it's not something I would factor in very much, is that if the Patriots are up big in the second half, like if they're up 31 or so, or 24-31 against the Dolphins, Andy Reid might pull his starters because if the Patriots win, this game means nothing to the Chiefs. It only means something to the Chiefs if the Patriots lose. So if the Patriots are big in the second half, they might pull Patrick Mahomes. So that's kind of one area of concern I have there with Mahomes. But if he's healthy, if the Patriots aren't up big, Mahomes could easily be the top quarterback this week. Number 2, Carson Wentz against the Giants. The Giants have this horrible secondary. It's even worse now because they got rid of Janoris Jenkins. Carson Wentz, we talked about, and number 3, Daniel Jones. We talked about how we like stacking this game, Michael, for DFS. So I would definitely play Carson Wentz and Daniel Jones. I was surprised that Wentz was cheaper than Daniel Jones, but I guess maybe I shouldn't have been because Daniel Jones was amazing last week. So both have great matchups. I think both will play well. Number 4, Jared Goff. I'm considering dropping Goff because I saw a report, or at least heard it from somewhere, I don't know how reliable it was, that Sean McVay was considering benching some of his starters in the second half because they were just eliminated from the playoffs, and this game doesn't mean much to them. So that's I don't know if I'm going to play Goff in DFS for that reason. Number 5, Aaron Rodgers. Michael, we just talked about how Rodgers has been killing you, but this matchup against Detroit is just it's too great to pass up for me. So Detroit can't cover anyone, and Rodgers should have a great game. Number 6, Tom Brady against Miami. We've seen any quarterback have a great game. I just pulled up the DraftKings winning lineup, and Andy Dalton was the winning quarterback because he played Miami. So Tom Brady against Miami seems like a great option. Number 7, Case Keenum. This is a bit of a surprise, but I think there are a couple of ways Case Keenum could be one of the top quarterbacks this week. One is that, I think the Redskins could go up on the Cowboys. Dallas does not have a good defense. They're missing Leighton Vander Esch, missing some of their safeties. So I think Keenum could have a good game. Second, if the Redskins are trailing, we've seen Keenum compile lots of garbage time. So I think Keenum could have a decent game. I like him a lot. He's gonna be one of my top quarterbacks in DraftKings this week because he's very cheap, and so are his targets. Number 8, Drew Brees. It seems odd that Case Keenum would be ahead of Drew Brees, but I think the Saints are going to be way up in this game, and they're not going to have to throw that much in the second half. So that's my one concern with Brees. Number 9, Ryan Tannehill against the Texans. We talked about how the Texans may not play the starters, so that makes for a very good matchup for Ryan Tannehill. And then number 10, Jimmy Garoppolo. If Garoppolo were playing better, I'd have him ranked higher, but because this is a good matchup, but Garoppolo is not playing well at all right now. He's holding the ball way too long in the pocket. He's not anticipating his throws, but he's still is a good matchup. So he's a good option on the Sunday night slate. So he's going to be in my flex. I would not recommend him as captain because he doesn't run enough, but I think he's a good option for DFS on the Sunday night slate. So Michael, what are your thoughts on the top 10?
Okay. I don't like Goff at all. Case Keenum, I'm not down with him on that. I like the guy, but I just don't think that's going to be a good matchup for him. Garoppolo, I would drop him. I noticed that you dropped some of these guys. Matt Ryan, totally hate him. Jameis Winston, I love him. And the guy that I think you really need to move up, I think you have moved him up a little bit since the last time I looked. But Ryan Tannehill with multiple touchdowns in 6 straight games. He was the 4th best quarterback in fantasy last time he played the Texans. Houston's allowed 300-plus passing yards in 3 of its past 4 games. And then we got Tannehill in the red zone. Tannehill is the 2nd best in the NFL in the red zone completion percentage and red zone touchdown percentage. So, and no defense is worse than Houston's in the red zone. So I think Ryan Tannehill could lead you to a fantasy championship. I actually picked him up off the waiver wire in a league where I'm in a consolation bracket. There's a lot of guys on a waiver wire that were available this week. Dallas Goedert, amazing, and still Perryman was out there too. So another guy is Adrian Peterson, and I'm not so sure they aren't going to try to lean on him a little bit. So that's another reason I'm not so happy with Case Keenum, and he doesn't have McLaurin.
I actually think McLaurin's absence, I actually like that for Case Keenum because it consolidates his target share. That means he's only going to throw to Steven Sims Jr., Calvin Harmon, and Chris Thompson. So I think that makes him very appealing for DFS. So I like Keenum a lot. I'll definitely push back on that. I don't know why do you think this is going to be a tough matchup for him? I mean, we just saw Carson Wentz throw all over Dallas. I don't think Dallas has a good defense at all. And DeMarcus Lawrence is a little banged up too.
Dallas has been a Jekyll and Hyde team, and the Redskins just are very. And I don't have a lot of faith in Case Keenum. So.
Okay, I mean he was fantastic last week against the Giants. I know the Giants secondary is horrible, but it's not like Dallas has a great pass defense either. So yeah, Case Keenum is extremely cheap on DraftKings, so I will be playing him a lot. I do agree with you with your take on Jared Goff. I think I have him ranked too highly, especially in the wake of the report that he might be benched. But this matchup against Arizona is why I had him so high in the first place. Arizona's defense is just a joke, and Jared Goff he had a great game against them the first time. So that was my thinking initially, but I might drop Goff. And then Tannehill, I think he might be the one guy to move up. So I agree with that. Jameis Winston, by the way, not in the top 10 because he picked up a knee injury on top of his thumb injury. So I just think it's too much of a risk. And I think that Atlanta Tampa game might be a like a slugfest. I think that I think there's a chance that it's much low scoring than people think it will be. All right, let's get to the running backs. So Christian McCaffrey, number 1, he's going for the franchise rushing record. He needs 155 rushing yards to become the Carolina Panthers all-time single season rusher. I don't know if he's going to get it. It's a tough matchup, but I think that means the Panthers will be running him a lot. And plus, he's going for the rushing title. I believe he's 90 yards within Nick Chubb or something like that. So I assume that they'll want him to have that. So I don't anticipate them benching McCaffrey. Number 2, Saquon Barkley. He's healthy again, and now he's dominant. So the Eagles have trouble. The Eagles are good against the run, but they have trouble stopping pass catching running backs. So I like Barkley. Alvin Kamara, same boat as Barkley, and it's interesting that they both kind of had resurgences at the same time. Kamara struggled coming off the injury, and now he's healthy again. So I like Kamara a lot against Carolina's awful run defense. Number 4, Ezekiel Elliott. The Redskins have suffered some injuries lately. So and plus Dak Prescott's injured. So the Cowboys will have to lean a lot on Elliott in this must-win matchup. So I like Elliott quite a bit. Nick Chubb, number 5. If Freddie Kitchens were a competent head coach, I would be higher on Nick Chubb, but they don't seem to be running the ball that much with Chubb, which is just mind-boggling to me. Number 6, Derrick Henry. It's a tough matchup on paper, but Houston might be sitting some of their starters defensively, so I think that'll open things up for Henry. Number 7, Kenyon Drake. It's amazing the ride he's been on, and the Rams' run defense is not very good, so I expect another huge game from Kenyon Drake. Number 8, Aaron Jones against the Lions. The Lions, they allow the opposing offense to do anything they want. So I believe Aaron Jones will have a good game, and Jamal Williams is injured. So Jones might get all the work again. Number 9, Marlon Mack. Jacksonville has the worst run defense in the NFL. So Marlon Mack is very appealing to me. And then number 10, Joe Mixon, who we had some late reporting last week about Joe Mixon having the flu or a stomach bug or whatever it was. I don't know what he drank the night before, but he was not in good shape at all. Yeah, I mean, he should be healthier this week, and he had a good game against Cleveland last time. So I like Mixon to bounce back. So those are my top 10 running backs, Michael. What do you think about those? Michael's muted.
Oh, sorry.
Running backs. I agree with you in the running backs, and when I'm muted, I can't see the rankings because it says your mic is muted over the pairing.
Sorry about that.
Very aggravating. But Christian McCaffrey, that's a lot of yardage for him to have to get, but I would hope that they would try to get him the record. I was very disappointed that the new coach of the Packers, they were one reception away from Devontae Adams tying Don Hudson's record. My goodness. I don't know if that's a lack of respect for Green Bay history or if it's just too much respect for Hudson that he didn't deserve to tie it against such a miserable game. But that was surprising to me that they didn't get him an extra catch.
Yeah, I thought they might too. That was disappointing for sure. Who knows? Maybe they didn't even know about the record. Who knows? So I don't know what they're thinking at the time. I'm sure they just wanted to come out with a win and not be injured. So, all right, let's go to receivers. So a familiar face at the top, Michael Thomas. I feel like he's been number 1 every single week we've done this, except for his bye week. Michael Thomas is just a monster. He's the best receiver in the NFL right now, hands down, and he's the top option every week. Number 2, Tyreek Hill. I always say this: no one, Thomas is better than Hill, but no one on any slate has more upside than Tyreek Hill. Tyreek Hill can go for six catches, 180 yards, and 3 touchdowns super easily. He can get to the end zone anytime he touches the ball. So Tyreek Hill in huge tournaments where you have 100,000 people, I am always interested in playing Tyreek Hill, no matter what the price. Number 3, Devontae Adams against the Lions. The Lions don't have anyone to cover Devontae Adams, and Adams should have a great game. Number 4, Julian Edelman against the Dolphins. Edelman was healthier last week. He had a bad week 15, and we talked about how my fourth cousin was kind of a high risk last week, and he came back. Like he had a solid game, although he actually missed a chunk of the game, but he still had a good fantasy output overall. So I like Edelman. Number 5, AJ Brown. This guy has been a monster, and he had a great game against the Texans two weeks ago. The Texans have nothing to play for, so it's not like they're going to focus on shutting down AJ Brown. So I love AJ Brown. Number 6, Allen Robinson against the Vikings. Minnesota's secondary is terrible, and Minnesota has nothing to play for. So I think Robinson could have a big week. Number 7, Cortland Sutton against the Raiders. Oakland's the pass defense is terrible, so I like Sutton quite a bit. Number 8, Keenan Allen against the Chiefs. So this could be garbage time. The Chiefs' pass defense has been very good, but there's a chance that Philip Rivers might have to throw a lot, and I think that'll set up well for Keenan Allen. Number 9, DJ Chark. He was horrible last week. but he was injured. He was not 100%. So I expect him to be better this week. He should be healthier. And then number 10, Julio Jones. He was higher. I believe he was third recently. I dropped him to 10 because he's banged up, and I don't know if he's going to play the whole game. So that's the reason why I dropped him. So, Michael, those are the top 10 receivers. What do you think about those?
Totally disagree.
Okay.
Okay.
So with what?
Can you make it a little bigger?
Hold on.
Oh, that helps a lot. Okay. All right. Michael Thomas, can't argue with that. Tyreek, of course, Devontae. Not sure what's going on with Edelman. I love A.J. Brown, but, a lot of that, he got on that run. Of course, it's the Texans. Allen Robinson. Oh, my goodness. Now, there's a guy I love. Minnesota's been good against the slot. They've been terrible against the perimeter. Second most fantasy points to outside receivers all year and the most over the past 8 weeks, and they couldn't stop Devontae. So I really love Allen Robinson. The guy that you've been in love with every week and you've been bold with him that you don't have up, I love Brashard Perryman. You know how many receivers have had at least 70 receiving yards in the past 4 weeks?
No, tell me.
2. Tyler Higbee and Brashard Perryman. That's it. So I think he's going to go off again, and the Falcons have allowed a player to reach 100 receiving yards 7 times this season. Perryman will be up there. So I really love Perryman. I really love Allen Robinson. And the rest here, I guess I can agree with you. But I really think where have you? There he is. You got him way down there. Yeah, I think he should be higher. Yeah, and I don't know what's going on with T.Y. Hilton. I don't trust him.
Yeah, Perriman's 18, so he's a receiver 2 for me this week. The reason I have him a little lower this week is because I'm not sure about Jameis Winston's health. As I said before, he picked up a knee injury on top of his thumb. So I just don't know. I think that could be a low scoring game. So I'm reluctant to play pretty much anyone from that game. So I think it'll be a slugfest. So that's the reason why I have Perriman so low. But 18 is still, he's still definitely a viable option, I think. So someone I want to highlight who barely made the top 10, Steven Sims. He's quietly been improving this year. I don't know what he's doing in practice, but whatever he's doing is working out. He's improved a lot. He had a big game against the Giants, and I think with Terry McLaurin out, I think Steven Sims might get even more targets. So I think he's a sleeper to watch out for this week.
Agreed.
Okay. Let's go to tight ends.
Well, something you mentioned something, but one of the things that go ahead and let's do the tight ends.
Okay.
I'll bring it up.
Okay. Number 1, George Kittle. It's a very easy matchup, and he's an amazing talent. So he's obviously number 1. Number 2, Dallas Goedert. Zach Ertz is out, and Dallas Goedert. He's on my DFS strategy show with Kenny Ortiz. We've been talking about how Dallas Goedert would be a top 5 tight end in fantasy and in real life if he were by himself. And now he's by himself. So this is the week to prove it. He's an amazing talent, and it's a good matchup. So I love Goddard. He's even ahead of Travis Kelce, who's number 3. Kelce may not play the whole game, so I think that's a slight concern, as was with Mahomes. So that's something you have to look out for. Number 4, Austin Hooper. So Julio Jones is banged up, Calvin Ridley's out, and Devontae Freeman has a tough matchup. So who's left? This is going to be Austin Hooper. So I love Austin Hooper this week, especially against the Tampa defense that can't stop tight ends. Number 5, Tyler Higbee. He's been a monster. Just play him against Arizona's terrible defense against tight ends. Number 6, Hunter Henry. He finally bounced back a little bit last week. So I think with the Chargers in comeback mode, he should do well, especially in garbage time. Number 7, Darren Waller against Denver. Denver's defense has improved against tight ends this year, but Darren Waller's not a true tight end. And he had a great game against them in week 1. So I think he can do that again. Number 8, OJ Howard. He's believe it or not, OJ Howard is the highest owned tight end on DFS this week projected. He's actually the last time I looked, he was projected to be the 4th highest owned player overall. I don't understand that at all. I'm not Michael. Maybe after these top 10, maybe I want to hear your opinion on OJ Howard. You live in Tampa, obviously, so I want to know if you're seeing something I don't with Howard. But yeah, let's finish this out. Greg Olsen, number 9. This might be his final game, so the Panthers might try to get him a touchdown. And then number 10, Jacob Hollister. The 49ers. The one thing they don't do well defensively is cover tight ends. They're not terrible against it, but they're not great either. So I think Hollister could do well. So, Michael, what are your thoughts on the top 10? And any thoughts on OJ Howard being one of the highest owned players on DFS this week?
I think that's crazy. He catches more balls at baseball games. He's been a big disappointment this year. I've seen the movie Tampa playing the Falcons a million times. The Falcons have nothing to play for. The coach has been retained for some strange reason. The Bucks are going to go off. And every time they go off, it's like Jameis throws a Cameron Brate. So I don't understand OJ Howard. Waller's hasn't been doing so well since the new receiver's been on the field. When he's on the field, Waller doesn't do well. Hunter Henry, I don't know what's happened to him. And I'm actually thinking of dropping him as a keeper because Rivers has gone down the drain. Maybe Rivers is going to be back next year. And without Rivers throwing him tons of balls, maybe Hunter Henry's not going to be so good. And the guy's always hurt. The guy that I'm really surprised that you don't have hired. Oh my God, are you serious? You got Austin Hooper ahead of Tyler Higbee. Now, Goddard, the Giants, he's had the benefit of playing with Kelsey, which I think gives him some openings. The Giants, I know they're depleted in the secondary, but they've been number 12 against tight ends this year. They haven't been that bad against tight ends. And I don't understand Tyler Higbee. Look who he's playing. He's playing the Cardinals. Somebody named Walter told me the Cardinals don't know how to defend against tight ends. And the guy has had 7 receptions and 100 yards in 4 consecutive games. You know how many players have done that in NFL history? Not Tony Gonzalez, not Gronk. Nobody's ever done that. And Gerald Everett was back last week, but he only played 4 snaps. You and I were wondering earlier in the year why they paid Higbee $31 million in a 4-year extension. Well, he's the only non-quarterback with at least 18.5 fantasy points in each of his past 4 weeks. The guy has done everything in the past 4 weeks to make me think he's a keeper, and he's for real. I mean, he's a big dude. I don't know why he hasn't been good till now, but for God's sake, Walter, he's playing the Cardinals. He should be right behind Kittle, in my opinion.
That's fair, but I don't know if he's going to play the whole game. So Sean McVay has talked about how he's going to sit some starters, and plus Gerald Everett's going to play more than 4 snaps this week. He's gonna be healthier. I feel like he's going to play maybe 15, 20 snaps. I could definitely see him being on the field more. So I could see Higbee being the top tight end this week. I could also see Higbee being a big disappointment this week because he may not play the entire game. So that's my thinking there.
That's a great point. I hadn't thought about the Rams sitting players, and Philadelphia certainly is not because they got to win. So you know what? It's a coin flip to me. Yeah, I agree with you that's a good consideration.
Okay. All right. Those are the top tight ends. Kim, you said you wanted to ask something.
Oh, I think I pulled a blank, but when we're doing these picks for the playoffs, well, you know what? Let's just wait for the next show. I've kind of lost my train of thought.
Okay, yeah. The playoffs next week. Obviously, there won't be any year-long ramifications because all those leagues will be over, even those that go to week 17. But yeah, there will be DFS contests next week. I don't know what the prize pools will be, but I imagine the main contest will be at least $250,000 top prize. So there'll definitely be a lot to play for.
$250,000 top prize. Now these are on DraftKings.
Yeah, DraftKings. So FanDuel will have that as well, and to a lesser extent, Yahoo and Fantasy Draft, and to an even lesser extent, WalterFootball.com.
Yeah. But you know what? That's free to play, and that's fun, and it's good practice. So WalterFootball.com, register and play for free and get some practice.
Absolutely. Yeah. So, and I know on DraftKings they also have Saturday only and Sunday only contests, which are kind of interesting too. So yeah, there are plenty of ways to keep playing fantasy football, even though the regular season's over. So that's why I love DFS. We didn't have this, or I don't know how many years ago, 7 years ago, we didn't have this at all. So it's really cool that we have a new way to keep playing. I think it's great.
Well, I think it's really cool, and and I know that you work hard almost all year round on this and working with the draft picks and everything. Michael and I, we play Flea Flicker, and I was doing good there for a while. Got sidetracked on some other matters and couldn't keep up with my team. But one thing is for certain, I mean, when you keep up with your teams and you keep up with what's going on in the industry, basically, and with the football players, you can definitely start winning your game. Michael has taught me that as well. So thank you, Michael.
My pleasure, Kim.
Yeah, if you put a lot of hard work into it, you can get better. And that's kind of the name of the game. So if you're new to this, you can play on my site for free. You can also play on DraftKings for free. They have free contests. Now, the prizes aren't going to be anything substantial, and you're going to be playing with, I think the free contest usually is like 35,000 people, and the grand prize is like $100 or something like that. So chances are you're not going to win, even if you play every week for the next 10 years. You may not win that contest, but you can get better. And if you get a couple of top 20 finishes here and there, and if you find yourself getting better each week, you might want to start playing in contests that are smaller, that have bigger prize pools. Like I know
there's penny pools, there's 10 cents, and I'm sure that there are Bitcoin pools somewhere. So yeah, I mean, it is. I mean, for me now, it's becoming a challenge of, can I beat this one particular person? Can I step up the ladder? And it's nothing against them. It's just, I'm tired of being below a certain person, and I want to build up. So for me, it's becoming a personal change, not just so much about the money would be great, but just being able to step up that ladder a little bit would be fun. So yeah.
Yeah, I know Pickle's your nemesis on
I know. So. I know you were going to bring that up.
Yeah, hopefully, next year, I think you can surpass Pickle for sure.
Well, we're going to work on it. We're going to have a title of, Kim is racing against Pickle next year. So
absolutely, yeah, I think you'll get him next year. I've taken you.
All right, thanks for rooting for me. Yeah, this is fun. So
yeah, absolutely. All right, that's it for this week. And anything else before we sign off?
No, we'll be doing this live next week as well on Wednesday, right at 4:30.
Yeah, next year's New Year's Day, but this shouldn't be a factor.
Oh dear, yeah. So what do we do? Let's talk about this in front of our public, but do we want to postpone it today? Is there a game that we need to be aware of on New Year's Day or Thursday?
Yeah, New Year's Day. There are bowl games, but it's all the overrated bowl games I don't really care about. So 5 o'clock, there's Wisconsin, Oregon, which I guess is kind of important. Justin Herbert.
Maybe we should do Thursday.
Yeah.
Well, what about Tuesday, so that we've already covered this week. We've already covered week 17, right?
Yeah.
Well, next week's week 18. So yeah, Thursday would be better. There are only 2 games, and neither is significant.
Okay. So Thursday 4:30 or Thursday noon? What works best?
Thursday at 4:30 is fine for me.
Okay. All right, guys.
Happy New.
Oh, Happy New Year's to everyone! Absolutely. Thank you, Michael. Happy New Year's.
Yeah, absolutely. Happy New Year's, as Chris Berman would say. Let us be the first to wish everyone a Happy New Year's. I always thought that was a little, I always wish he would say, let me be like the 5th to wish you a Happy New Year's.
Or how about have a 5th to have a Happy New Year's?
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So that's it for this week. You can find more fantasy rankings on walterfootball.com. If you're interested in beyond the top 10, I'm going to be doing a mass update tonight. Just kind of diving in and doing crunches on Fantasy Cruncher, seeing how everything plays out. That's usually Saturday night. Saturday night is usually the big update. So I will be updating it then. We have updated NFL picks against the spread. and 2020 NFL mock draft. So definitely check that out. And otherwise, let us know who you're playing on DraftKings this week, or if you're still in a league that has a championship. And if you're on DraftKings and if you win, let us know. That'd be awesome if you did that. So yeah, I will talk to you guys next week.
And we'll see you guys next week. And we are going to run with our latest and greatest